Hello everyone and welcome to Innovaticalls. I am Professor Nikia Shiaghi and I am truly glad to have you here. If this is your first time visiting Innovaticalls, this is a channel where we explore how emotional intelligence, self-awareness and resilience can shape your academic and professional journey. We talk about the emotional tools that help you think clearly, adapt to the change and stay grounded under pressure. Tools that help you not only succeed but truly flourish. So if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you can join our community of students, researchers, and professionals who are learning how to grow with intention and courage. Today, I want to talk about something that every one of us experiences: rejection. It's the one of those words that instantly triggers emotion. You might feel tension in your chest just hearing it. Whether it is not getting a job you really hoped for, not being accepted into a PhD program, or receiving a negative feedback from your supervisor, rejection can make you feel small, unseen, or inadequate. But here is the truth: rejection is not the opposite of the success, it is part of it. Every person who has ever achieved something meaningful has faced rejection, often many times more than we realize. Let's begin with the first step: reframing rejection and seeing it as a natural and essential part of your growth journey. When we shift our perspective, rejection stops being a personal failure and starts becoming useful information. Some people, when they face rejection, immediately change direction. They start chasing approval instead of purpose. They become so afraid of hearing no that they only go after easy yes situations. But in the real life, that's not how growth happens. Every challenge that stretches us brings the risk of rejection, and that's exactly why it builds resilience. So I would like to pause here and ask you a reflective question. How do you see yourself when you face rejection? Do you think I'm not good enough? Or do you think this is feedback, something I can learn from? Your answer to this question can make an enormous difference in the direction of your career and life. Think of great scientists, innovators, and creators, people whose discovery shaped our world. Their story all filled with rejections. Einstein's early papers were dismissed by journals. Thomas Edison famously said he didn't fail 1,000 times, he simply found 1,000 ways that didn't work. And that's the mindset we need to build. Imagine a stream of the water flowing toward its destination. When it meets a rock, it doesn't stop, it finds a way through, or it flows around the obstacle. Continue on its path. Sometimes, over the times, it even craves its way through the hardest rock. That's the nature of persistence. Gentle, continuous, unstoppable. So, the first step is to stop seeing rejection as a wall and start seeing it as a bend in the road. It is still leading you forward. Now, the second important point is to separate your identity from your outcome. This is something I have seen many postgraduate students and young professionals struggle with. For example, imagine you apply for a research scholarship and get a rejection email. It's so easy to let that outcome define you, to say, I'm not good enough, or maybe I am not smart enough, but that's not true. A rejection doesn't measure your worth. It is only measure the fit between your current presentation and what that specific opportunity was looking for. Let's take an example. One of my students, Emma, once applied for a competitive fellowship and didn't get selected. She felt defeated, but instead of giving up, she decided to review her application carefully. She realized that she hadn't clearly explained the impact of her research on a broader community, something that the program valued highly. A year later, she reapplied with a stronger, clearer proposal, and she got it. Her ability to separate her self-worth from the result allowed her to learn and try again. That's the mindset of the growth. The third point is using feedback as a learning opportunity. When you face rejection, it is tempting to walk away and never look back, to just move on quietly. But the truth is, rejection often hides valuable information. If you didn't get accepted into a position, a course, or collaboration, don't be afraid to ask for feedback. For instance, one of my early career students was rejected from a fellowship and felt embarrassed to reach out. But I encouraged her to ask for feedback from the review committee. She did, and the comments she received became a turning point. She learned exactly which area of her proposal were unclear and which parts were strong. The following year, she refined her application and this time she succeeded. And this is something we often overlook. How much power lies in reflection? When we take the time to analyze what happened, we grow. When we run from discomfort, we repeat the same mistakes. These also connect with something we discussed in our earlier episode about emotional intelligence, our body language and tone. Remember, communication isn't just about the words. The way you hold yourself, the calmness in your voice, and the confidence in your posture send a message louder than anything you say. So, if you haven't already, I encourage you to watch our previous episodes on EQ. Understanding how emotions shape your interaction will help you manage rejection with grace and strength. Now, let's move to another essential skill, emotional regulation. Rejection naturally brings emotions, disappointment, frustration, even anger. These feelings are real and completely valid, but emotional intelligence helps you manage them wisely. Let's say your job application was declined. You might be tempted to send a quick message asking why or expressing your frustration. But if you take a few minutes to pause, breathe, and calm your body, you will respond in a much more effective way. You might instead write something like, "Thank you for the opportunity to apply. I would appreciate any feedback that could help me improve in the future." This simple act of emotional control leaves a professional impression and sometimes it even opens the door later on. People remember how you respond in moments of disappointment. The next step is embracing flexibility. Sometimes rejection is a form of redirection. It is the universe's way of saying, "This is not the path for you right now." I have seen a student who did not get into their dream university but end up discovering a field that suited them for better. One student of mine applied for a position in a big city lab but didn't get it. Instead, she found an opportunity at a smaller research group where she had more creative freedom and closer mentorship. That unexpected redirection became the best thing that ever happened in her career. So, if you receive a no, don't assume it is a dead end. It could be a detour leading you somewhere better along with your purpose. Now, before we close, I would like to give you a small reflection exercise. Take a few minutes this week to think about a rejection that still feels painful. Maybe an opportunity you lost or feedback that felt unfair. Write down what you learned from that experience. Ask yourself, what did this teach me about myself? What skill did I gain because of it? What opportunity might be waiting because that door closed? you will surprise how differently you feel when you view it through this lens. So, let's now overview what we have learned in today's episode. We discovered that the rejection is not a verdict, it is a redirection. It guides us, sharpens us, and helps us grow. We learned that the first step is reframing rejection, seeing it as a part of process, not a sign of failure. We also talk about separating who we are from what happened to us. We explored how asking for feedback and practicing emotional regulation can transform rejection into wisdom. And we reflected on how flexibility, being open to new paths, can turn unexpected no into greater yes. Remember the image of the stream of water. It doesn't fight against the rock. It flows, finds a way around, and keeps moving toward its goal. Be like that stream. Keep your purpose clear, your emotions balanced, and your direction steady. Every rejection is a step in disguise, a step forward, your next opportunity, your next discovery, your next version of yourself. Thank you so much for joining me in today's episode of Innovaticalls. If this message encouraged you, please like, share, and subscribe. Your support helps us reach more students and professionals who need this message of resilience and hope. Until next time, keep learning, keep growing, and remember, sometimes a no is just another way of the saying not yet.